Welcome to Unlocked. I am Dr. Joel Swakowski, and in this show, we explore how truth comes to life through real stories and real people. I'm here once again with Erik and Patty Dempsey. This is part two of their story, and you'll see as we get into the intro, we talk about doing a part two. I can tell you now, spoilers, there will be a part three, and probably more than that. So yeah, just sit back and enjoy this next arc of their story. And I think you'll enjoy it. And yeah, there's a lot of depth to it. And it ends in a really interesting spot in their story. So yeah, enjoy. Let's dive in. Hey, welcome back, Patty and Erik. Thank you so much for being on the show again. It was my fault. We had to go into two separate, or let's just at this point say at least two parts.
Yeah, who
And
knows?
yeah, your story was great. And
Mhm,
yeah, I really felt like it was important to give you guys all the time you needed to
Mm.
continue to tell it. So
well, thank you for that.
I'm assuming everybody's listened to part one. So if you haven't, go and watch it. You can press
Mhm.
pause. We'll be here when you get back.
Yeah,
Right.
we'll wait.
Well, wait.
But for those who haven't and are really anxious to hear this story, or for those of you who have watched part one and you want a little recap, can you guys give us just a brief recap of where we left off in your story?
Yeah, you bet. Yeah. So last time we talked about how, at the mature age of 18, we decided to get engaged.
Yeah.
And at the, more mature age of 21, we got married. And at the even more mature age of 22, we started making babies. So, as one does.
Yeah.
And yeah, and this is when we were living in Minnesota at the time. And um and so I had caused us to make some very poor spending decisions, and which caused us to have to show up in bankruptcy court as a brand new, married couple, brand new son. And yeah, never thought I would see the inside of what that would look like. And
Right. That's not in the plans, is it?
nope,
No.
that was not in the plan at all. And so, yeah, so it was this like real big moment of, okay, we're not making good decisions. We need help.
Mhm.
And, and so we started getting that help. And, there was also a point during that time where I was kind of going through my own like faith journey, as far as like, do I want to continue believing in God or not? Um, do I believe he exists? And if he does, am I going to follow him? And through a situation that happened with our second baby, Mercedes, kind of hit that breaking point where it's like, okay, God, I believe in you. Um,
Mm.
let's go. And it was during that point then that it was like, okay, it was time to make a job change. Being a mechanic wasn't going to cover it anymore as far as our expenses. And um, so got into computers. And right around that, as I was kind of starting my career there, um, is when we felt like God was telling us it's time to move back home to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of like where we
Yep.
ended it.
Yeah.
So that's all so like the bankruptcy court, all that stuff that you're now doing a job change and a move, that's all happening right around the same time.
Yep, it was all within the first 4 years of our marriage. So we got married in '96. Our first son, Josiah, was born '97. Bankruptcy court was '98. Second baby was born '99, and then 2000 we moved home.
Wow.
So
With the career change.
with a career change.
Yeah.
Yep.
And in computers now.
Yep.
So Y2K must have been a
Oh yeah.
anxiety ridden time as well, huh?
It was, yeah, because the company that I was working at in Minnesota, it was a big deal because they were a financial company. Um, and so it was like, and here I'm literally, I was a mechanic until August of 99. I start my job in IT in August of 99. And, 2 months later, everyone's going, Y2K, Y2K. And I'm going,
What?
how is 2 digits going to end the world? Like, I had no concept.
Oh, yeah.
And I was a systems guy, so I'm not data, I'm not application. So it's like,
Yeah.
all right, I guess if these people who are smarter than me are telling me 2 digits is going to end the world, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're probably right, huh? Oh,
Yeah,
man,
Those
what a time.
stressful
I mean,
years.
I was kinda, like, joking bringing it up, but yeah, that is, like, in the moment, it was this,
it
you know,
was.
this tension-filled thing that, like, the world was going through, at least the
Yep.
Mhm.
Western world. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
man, for you
exactly.
to jump into IT at that time is incredible.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
alright.
They're brand
Well,
new.
so what happened? What happened from there, guys?
Well, one of the things that was really some key points for us in our marriage at that point during that transition was, as he was looking for a job in that field, he got into the job, but by that point we already knew that we were moving home, that God had already said it's time to move home. So we knew it was only going to be a short-term job until we got home. And this was what was cool, is that as Erik had just started to really step into a renewed faith in God, like I was super stressed as a new mom, and I was, we just had our second baby. And so it was like, and I was used to working. I at least had some sort of, income that I was contributing. And so when he was looking for a job, I was really stressed. And so I was like trying to find jobs for him. And Erik, this was one of our early experiences that I remember of him like leading me by faith to be able to say, Patty, like, we got this. I know God has a job for me. And it's like he really was a strong person for me at that point to help me have faith that God had a plan for us and a way for us to be able to go back. And so it was like to the month within a couple weeks of when we heard from God that it was time to move home, that he got a job, got hired, and we were moving home. And then another piece of that was, like I said, we had 2 kids at the time. By that point, like I had already felt like that God put on my heart that there was a third one. It's like it really wasn't in our plan, but by then we were starting to give up control over, how things went. But we knew that there was a third one, but we had no idea when it was going to happen or anything like that. And so when we were moving home, I was already starting to look up daycare places to work. And at that point, God was like, nope, give me a year where you don't work. And
Okay.
that was like a faith builder. And again, to his credit, I'm so thankful for how he's consistently just been willing to, since he made that decision, just be like, okay. And so when I shared that with him, he's like, okay, it's going to be tough. It's going, we weren't making enough as it is to go to one income. And so, but it was cool. So we were in agreement. We made that decision together. We were learning to make these decisions by faith together in the right way. And so we moved home, and within like 2 or 3 days after moving back to Wisconsin, I found out I was pregnant. And so it was like, all right, here we go.
Yeah, okay.
And so that was only when our second child was a year old,
Oh,
so it
wow.
was like, so by the time we had our third, I was home, I was a stay-at-home mom. We learned how to really cut corners and save as much money as possible. He was the sole like breadwinner, provider for the family. So it was like a new tension between us to, okay, I'm going to learn how to rely on him to provide for us
Yeah.
and be willing to work on being a partner in a different way.
Yeah.
And so then we had our third child after our oldest just turned 3. Our oldest turned 3 in October, and we had our third child in January. So, and by then we were 24,
No,
25.
yeah,
You were just turned 25.
I was about to turn 26. So
And you had
great.
3 kids.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
3 and
Great.
under
Yep.
ish.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Grace was born on the 10th of January of 2001, and 9 days later I turned 26.
Yeah.
So it was funny because when Josiah turned 26, we were having, we were having his birthday dinner, and I said, "Hey, just so you know, if you were on our schedule right now, your third kid was born 9 days ago, and you own a house." And like he's like, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, we're only 6 months into your new house because we bought the house in October, or 3 months into the new house. We bought the house in October. Grace is born in January.
Yeah, because that was part of the move. Like we moved home and we lived with his parents in the basement for 5 months to save up, and we got support and counsel from our parents and stuff. So we were able to buy our first home, in that fall of 2000, which was such a blessing. But it was hard for me, and so the tension that was with our marriage, as much as I was, like, learning to rely on him to provide, you know, my goal was never to be a stay-at-home mom. Like, I had a career aspiration,
Yeah.
and I was able to graduate from college, but being at home was hard. It was, like, kind of a bit of a humbling season for me, and in a lot of ways, I kind of felt left behind, felt forgotten,
Mm.
but I made the decision I wanted to be home. Like, that was a decision that we made together, and so there was the tension over, like, how to split chores, which, we were still pretty much aligning our lives along the traditional route. Like, I took care of the home, he went out and worked. But the unfortunate part of that next season of our marriage, the 1 year that I had agreed to stay at home ended up being 6 years.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
it's like I stayed home for 6 years. And so I would say during that season was the season where it's like in our marriage, we kind of, while we were learning to make decisions together, kind of the path that it's like we kind of diverged.
Yeah.
We became like just two individuals that happen to be living in the same home and have three kids. And we just kind of became roommates. And so our marriage was struggling.
Yeah, we started to drift because it was one of those, and it's cool is we have the words for it now, but when we moved home, my brother and his family was here. Some friends that I had grown up with were here, where they were all still going to the same church, and they're both volunteering. And so I got, my brother and another really good friend of mine. The three of us were kind of three peas in a pod for a long time. And so it was like, so literally, we move home, and basically I'm working, 8 to 5, and then I would volunteer probably 2, 3 nights a week, come home, have dinner with the family, and then right after the kids are put to bed, I'm heading out to church or some other place to go volunteer for hours and hours. Um, Again, kind of as like one, it was just fun to be needed. It was fun to be a part of this group and have these friends. And it was also where I was getting my energy to try and bring back to the family.
Yeah.
So, um, and it was just getting to this point where like we would go months
Yeah.
without like really having a strong connection, without having a good conversation even. And now that we know who we are, it's like, holy cow, I can't believe that we would let it go that long. But
Yeah. Yeah. And so at that point, like, I was getting so angry. I felt like life was so unfair. Like, why does he get to go out and have all the fun while I'm with the kids, and so it was really a struggle. And so when we got to approaching our 30th birthday, it's like by that point, I felt like I don't see a path forward for our marriage.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
it was
Okay.
at that point where I'm just like, I don't know how we move forward because we barely are interacting where but no one would have on the outside would have ever known. It's like because, we're active in church, we're you're doing all these things,
Yeah.
but inside the home, it's like we were not doing well.
Yeah.
And so I remember reaching this point where I was so desperate. I'm like, either we're going to divorce or we're going to find a way to get help. And so I remember hearing on the radio about this marriage retreat weekend. And so it was like, okay, I knew by that point enough that he would not want to go, that would
Yeah.
not
Okay.
be something that he would be interested in. And so I'm like, well, is there a way that I can do this? So I think I applied and I got some free tickets for us because we didn't have the money, but I got some tickets for us the first round. And it worked out that it was for our 30th birthday. I'm like, hey, what about we do something fun for our 30th? And so I actually worked out a plan to like give him this great experience with his friends. So I sent him out, kind of rallied, figured out how to afford this, but sent him out to be with his best friend in Colorado and then in New Mexico. So he got this great guy hang. And he's
It was
like,
epic.
it was epic. And it was just like, this is awesome. And so then he's like, so what do you want for your birthday? And I'm like, so there's this marriage retreat.
Yeah.
And so
Uh-huh.
like,
What else would you want?
Yeah.
Like,
Anything else?
yeah,
Anything else?
yeah. And so I remember you saying like, that was the only reason why you were willing to go, right? At that point?
I would guess that just because it was like, because my concern always with these marriage retreats is you got to get to know people. You're going to be in small groups, all this stuff. It's like, I didn't want any of that.
Yeah.
I had my friends, I had my wife. It's like, I don't need to be sitting here opening my heart to
Talking to people
people.
I don't know
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
Yeah.
stuff I don't want to
Yeah.
share with them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'll say is like, that for us did give us
Yeah.
a path.
Yeah.
It was the first time we had some tools to be able to know like, wait, like we can talk about sex. We can talk about what
Yeah.
we want, what we like enjoy even around dates, what helps us feel loved. It's like and so, there was different language. And so we learned at least how it's like, yeah, I really appreciate it when you help me with chores around the house,
Yeah.
And it's like, so it was the first step to help us to have these conversations that we just had almost stopped talking about
Yes.
Yeah.
so many different areas of our marriage
Yeah.
that I
Right.
remember at one point just being like, oh, this is so great. And so we bought like this little date book, this box of like date ideas.
Oh, cool.
And so, since we didn't really afford to go out a lot, we would come up with these date ideas and we would take turns who was going to do the date. And then we bought a journal. And so we used that time to like write love letters to each other in a journal and put it on each other's bed at different times,
The
so like,
pillow. Yeah.
yeah, the pillow. And so that became our way of connecting.
Yeah. And I would say, and what's cool, Joel, is that now we know why, but like why this worked, like why this change occurred. But leading up to that weekend, my mentality was
Mm,
we will not get divorced.
Yeah. Okay.
I wanted this prideful, like, and I was committed to we won't get divorced. But then we go to this weekend, we get these tools, and there was a lot that hit me.
mm,
And it was really cool the way that they laid this out. I feel like we owe them because it's just like, it's 15 lessons, but then they go, okay, from each lesson, what's one thing you took? So now we have 15 things that's like, wow. And then they go, now pick your top 3. So it was really cool, but it was like from that weekend, and it's built out Friday night, Saturday, and then Sunday. And Saturday night is open on purpose. They encourage the couples to make that a date night.
mhm,
And so we did. We sent the kids away I'm sure they were fine. No, just kidding. We'll see them again someday. No, just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah. And we haven't seen them since, but
You haven't seen them.
But our marriage is great.
Marriage is awesome.
yeah. Okay. End of story. Don't have
I'm sure
kids.
it's unrelated.
That's good. Um, and so we did that, and it was like, and we started connecting at a level that I don't know that we've had either ever or in a long time.
Yeah.
And I just remember looking at Patty going, I think I've been thinking about this wrong. I don't think it's we won't get divorced. I think it's I want to be married to you.
Oh,
And
cool.
so it's cool, like, now we know with what we understand about the brain, why that is more important.
Powerful change in the mindset from a don't to do, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
We know our brains can't do it, don't.
Yeah.
Every time I tell myself, "Don't forget the keys," is when I forget my keys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's like and that's what it was for us, is it was like, and so it kinda started us on this, because again, like Patty said, we were in this spot where, we were in a hole. We were starting to drift apart and stuff, and it's like, how do we get that back? And
Yeah.
we needed help. We're realizing that we needed help, and we knew we needed help with the finances stuff. We started to get that help, started to make better decisions, but boy, finances is just one aspect of a healthy marriage, and it was like
Yeah.
there's these other areas that's like you just don't know who to go to. You don't always know who to talk to,
Right.
and so this retreat weekend was amazing.
Yeah, it
It
was
was a
really
huge.
pivotal. And we had no idea like what was gonna be coming, but
Right.
it's I mean, that was when we turned 30. And so turning 30, all of a sudden there was like a whole new decade of our marriage that we didn't even know what was gonna be hitting us. But when we were able to look back on our story, it's like, wow, God, thank you that we made the decision at that point, because that I think is what helped us get through what we were going to be facing. Because that was in 2005. And I was still wrestling with, since I was a stay at home mom, I was still wrestling with feeling like I had been left behind, like I had been forgotten. Like I graduated from college. Why did I graduate from college? What was the point of that? And so in the summer of 2006, I had really started building up a resentment. Like, he's getting his career, he's getting promoted, he's, like, experiencing all that, and he's, like, it seems like he's able to find his way, and I'm struggling as much as I made the decision to be home, and I'm thankful for that time. I felt this divided attention, and so I remember, every once in a while, I'd look up to see what I could do, what I'd be qualified for, and just nothing worked, and it always seemed like I would need more schooling. And so then I'd
Yeah.
get angry about it. And there was a time where I was looking again and trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I got angry again. And I was angry with God that, why did you have me graduate from college if I'm never going to use this anyway? And so I remember at that point, him talking to me. And I remember him saying, like, will you still follow me if you never go back to school again? And I remember it was like at that point, like saying, God, do you know what you're asking me? And he's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it was like, yeah. And so I stated my will. I said, yes, I will still follow you if I never go back to school again. And it was done. Like, that was gone. I didn't think about it again, and I just am like, "Okay, so now what? What do I do?" And so by this point, we had decided as a family we were gonna be in martial arts, so we were all in martial arts together. We were all pursuing our black belts. Erik was an amazing leader with that for us, and so it was, again, through that time, at the end of that summer, when there was an opportunity for a second school to open up. And so I talked with him, we were in agreement. And so I became, over time, the head instructor of that school. And he was my assistant instructor. And so it became like this family thing. Our kids would come with
Yeah.
us. And again, in a lot of ways it was good, and it would gave me a opportunity to be like, okay, I'm going all in on this. And but what ended up happening then was that over the next year, that became what I was looking to get my value. It's
Okay.
like, okay, this was my job. This was like finally something that I can say, this is what made my, now I have it all.
Yeah.
So
Well, and just a quick
yeah.
backup, like what even caused us to have to even look into that is,
I forgot.
yeah, in 2003, we found a new house that we just felt like, wow, it was kind of our dream house. And it's all out in Sherwood. And so we decided to buy that house. We moved. And then, yeah, a few years later, our car died. So, okay, well, now we got to buy a new car. We live out in Sherwood.
Yeah.
Everything else we do is in Appleton. It's like we need to have a family car. And it was the family car that broke. And so it was at that point where, because we had just moved and mortgage goes up, all that stuff, so we didn't have room in the budget for a new car payment. And so that's where it was like, okay, either we sell this house and move into town and lower our expenses, or Patty gets a job. And so it just turned out that there was this opportunity at the martial arts school, and basically her paycheck just went right to the bank to cover the car payment.
Hmm.
Okay.
But it was like this project that we were doing together,
Hmm.
which was again, it was kind of fun. It was like, okay, but it was literally Patty's every day,
Hmm.
and the kids too, because it was like the kids would be at school, and she would be doing walking through neighborhoods, trying to drum up business, putting flyers out, all that stuff. Then the kids would come home from school, so she'd have to go from Appleton, which is where the school was, back to Sherwood, bring the kids back to Appleton for classes. So the kids were, at
We're
the
shuffling
school.
about
Yeah, they're in this tiny little closet and stuff. So it was like,
office, but it was a small office.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to say we're putting them in a closet.
Yeah. Harry Potter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. But then, yeah. But like, as much as we were working together, it's like, man, we would fight. Like, there was just this dynamic. It's like, no, I want to be the one to say this, and I want to be the one to say this, like when we're co-instructing courses or classes and stuff. And so there would be this tension. And one of the things that would happen too was, at this time, he would often have like acid reflux. So he had some physical stuff that was starting to build up. He would have migraines and acid reflux. And at that point, I still was like, well, I need to get my stuff done, and you need to get to work. And then, so it was like, I had these really like expectations that would end up causing a lot of tension. And I would get mad at him if he wasn't doing his job. And,
yeah.
and I would get mad if he was preventing me from doing my job. And so there was a lot of tension. And so then when I remember crying out at one point where it's like, after about a year and a half of being this head instructor, I just looked at our marriage. I looked at our family dynamic. I looked at even the health of the school. It was just like, God, this is not worth it. Like, I've done
Oh,
everything that I know that I can do to try to make this work, to try to balance having the home, the family, the marriage, the kids, and the job and all that stuff. I've done everything I can, and everything is just like mediocre at best, if not worse than that.
Yeah.
And so I remember crying out to God and just being like, God, I don't know another way to live. So if there is another way, then I need your help to show me. And so I just invite you and I ask you to make me nothing so that you can be everything in my life, because I'm done.
Yeah.
And so it was a few weeks after that is when, during a martial arts test, I did a form that had me doing a 360-degree jump in the air. And when I landed, my foot slipped and I ended up completely tearing my ACL, partially torn my MCL. And it was a massive injury that just laid me up for a couple months.
Yeah.
yeah.
It was
And
wild.
so it was just like, I had never been that dependent in my life,
Okay.
and it broke me. And it was like, that was a big turning point in our marriage, because as much as I, like, had learned a little bit to kind of depend and see ourselves as a team, there was such a measure of independence that I had at this time that I was just like, "No, I can do this." So to experience that level of injury where I was in bed, and then daily to see him so happy to take care of me, so happy to provide for whatever I needed, and he managed the home, he took care of the kids, he did, it was like, it confronted me so much,
Yeah.
and it showed me so much of how much he cares and loves me and wants to provide for me more than just through money,
Yeah.
and he
Okay.
actually wants to, like, tend to me and care for me and be this mental, emotional, and along with physical support. It, like, was so humbled by it, and it helped me to see, like, okay, I was wrong.
Mm.
Oh, wow.
I don't want to live like I don't need him anymore. I
Mm.
want to start learning how to receive what he has to offer and learn how to give that back to him.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was cool because it was just like
Incredible.
Mm.
it was this thing where, even though for the years leading up to that, anytime I was sick, it was like this massive inconvenience for Patty that,
Oh,
when
because
she
wait, because you were having some health issues too, right?
right.
Yeah, by that time, it was just the acid reflux and the migraines, but there were days where he would need to stay home from work, and I would just get angry if he had to stay home from work for a migraine.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
so the turntables turned.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Talk more about that. That sound.
Yeah.
That. So what was that like?
Yeah,
Uh,
so it was crazy, and what's because I still Joel, there were probably 2 or 3 weeks where getting to sleep was the hardest thing in the world after her injury, because the whole school heard her knee snap. There was, like, no I thought she broke bones.
Oh, so like everybody's like like
Re
traumatized by this because
Oh,
they're
yeah.
like, oh yeah, okay,
Yeah.
brutal.
Yeah, because it was during the black belt test, so everyone there was 3 different schools that got together, and all of their black belt candidates tested together, so there's probably, like, 50 people in the room, and it was just Patty and 2 other people because they were the ones doing their first-degree black belt test, and she does this move, we heard the snap, she falls, and I just went running, just like, instinct, which is always one of those things, like, you hope that you're going to rise to the level of your expectations. And what's funny is it's like we teach in martial arts, and we've talked about this in our church too, is that we all hope that you rise to the level of your expectations, but really you're going to fall to the level of your training. And what happened is just like it just proved like I had trained my brain that Patty's my person.
Mhm.
And like anything happens to her, I'm I'm there. It was like tunnel laser focus in, and it was just like, "Holy cow, okay, I didn't know it then, but it was like, "Okay, our lives are about to change," or something, like, it just felt big, and, like, and all I do is I keep hearing that sound, for days, and it's just like, and then her scream, like, she landed, fell, you hear the snap, she drops to the floor, and then just screams this blood-curdling scream, and it's just like, "Oh, I've heard that for weeks."
Oh,
Mm.
I bet.
And it's still like, I know the move, I know the form, I still can't do that move. I can't get my brain to allow me to do the jump and the spin. And just about everyone who was there that day, they're like, whenever we would practice that form afterwards, we're all just like, okay. And anyone who can go ahead and do the jump spin, everyone else just walk around in the circle.
Yeah, we don't make people do that one anymore.
No.
Mm.
um, but it was just like, whatever it was, like, there wasn't this, "Oh, I'm gonna show her what this is supposed to look like." That wasn't in my brain at all. It was just, I want to take care of my wife. It was just the easiest thing in the world to just make her first, take care of the kids, all this. I got so much energy doing the cleaning, getting the kids ready for school, doing the cooking, pizza and macaroni and cheese,
Yeah.
and sometimes on the same night.
Yeah.
Um, and then just making sure like she had a regimen and I knew what the process was of when she needed the ice pack put on, when she needed to have the little machine that helped her bend her leg and keep it's like I just knew I was on a schedule. And so it was so much fun doing that like she said, I just remember just like it just never felt like a burden that I could remember that I can remember anyways.
Yes.
So it sounds like it changed Patty more than it did you. It sounds like this already was kind of part of your thought process. You were just given this opportunity to, you know, kind of manifest what you had already thought and felt about Patty. Patty, what was it like for you to see him
Oh, it
like this?
was. It changed everything for me really because in so many ways because I had no mercy for him or little care and mercy for him when he would get sick, and to be in such a dependent situation where I knew I couldn't even get my own sock on because it was like all this stuff for weeks, and I needed him for everything. I needed him to be able to help me with everything. And so I had never experienced that in a way that someone would actually want that and respond to it with such joy. Like, it wasn't a burden. It wasn't like, because I had really made a decision early on that I was not gonna be a burden to anyone, and so that's what facilitated me being so independent, you know?
Oh, okay. All right.
And
Yeah.
so but so it really gave me a different perspective that, like, well, if I'm never gonna be a burden to someone, then I'm never gonna be able to receive anyone's value and actually appreciate anyone's value because 'cause I'm gonna really believe that I'm in need of nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We don't want to be there, huh?
Right, and that was really my mentality, and so getting that experience where it's like, "Okay, well, then I'm gonna be willing to say it's like that was what I needed. I needed a physical break where I could do nothing to help me see that I was deceiving myself that I was in need of nothing. And so being able to have that experience, to be able to see him love taking care of me and then have nights where the kid, because I just holed up in the bedroom. I didn't know how to deal with being dependent. So I just stayed in the bedroom. I isolated, I struggled through it, and then he would just bring the kids down, and then we'd have supper. Eat supper around our bed, and we'd watch TV and stuff. But I remember being in the bedroom for weeks. Like, I struggled knowing how to get out of that.
Yeah.
So it meant a lot to me to know that as much as it took a long time, it took a good couple months for me to be willing to, like, see a light at the end of the tunnel, be able to see that I can move, I'm okay. It took me 2 years to have the mental, like, courage to run, to, like,
Oh,
do
wow.
something that would allow me to be off the ground at any point, you know?
Yeah.
So, it was super traumatic for me, but to experience his strength, his care, and the kids just respond to it, it was life-changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. That's
Yeah.
incredible. So this big knee injury happens too just what, weeks after you stated your will to God?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was within, like, 3 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like even in I wonder what happened in that 3 weeks, right? Where it's just like
Oh
God,
my.
I'm sure God's trying to get your attention, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
But there
yeah.
still was this like, well, God, I'll give you everything, but then we don't even know it, right? You said you deceived yourself, like the way you worded that, because it's just like we think we've surrendered everything, but there's this blind spot, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I imagine, like you said, it sounds like for you it was this like whatever belief you developed in your younger years of like I'm never gonna be a burden on somebody is this thing that's it's this stronghold you've built where it's blinding you from what God's trying to get your attention in, and he just puts you in a position where it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to really show you what
Yeah,
what it means
exactly.
to actually be dependent on someone or
Yeah.
to break the independence.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh, totally. And I remember it's like, I have a scar on my right knee, and I actually am like, I don't want that to go away, because for me that was a physical reminder of like, this is what I needed in order to be able to actually learn how to be interdependent, how to actually,
yeah,
know that I'm not in need of nothing. And so it's like, okay, yeah, thank you for this reminder. Thank you for this scar.
Yeah.
that's cool. Yeah,
um, so I mean, at that point, I did go back to the martial arts school, but it was within 6 months that the school closed. It just couldn't sustain itself and stuff. And by then, I was like, you know what? I'm okay if I failed, I messed up. Like, I don't deserve to have another job, that was kinda like my mentality, it's like, I'll just go back to being at home. And Eric was just like, he's just been so amazing to just be in response, like, he was fully committed always to provide for my us, and I feel like from day one, you were always about just helping me make progress in whatever I wanted to do. It was like I've never ever once experienced a time where I've said, "Hey, I want to try this." And he was like, "No." Like every time I'm like, "Hey, I want to try this." He's like, "Okay, yeah." He'll support me and he'll try to help me be safe doing it. But, you know,
Yeah.
and so at that point, the job ended at the martial arts school, and then within a week or 2, there was a job opening at the church. We were going to a big church at the time, and there was a job opening there. So I was like, "God," it seems something I'd be interested in, but I'm like, "God, I don't need this. I don't deserve this. I know I messed up with this." And he's like, "No, Patty, like, go for it."
yeah. Don't like go into condemnation now, right? Like
Right.
Yes.
I'm in this position, I'm in this mindset of like I got this, and then the pendulum swings a little too far after what happened to you, and it's like,
Yeah.
I guess I can't do anything, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So started a new job, but by then that kinda started there was, like,
It was
that
much.
was just the first of medical things that happened.
Yeah. So kind of from there, so her knee injury was fall of 2007,
Mhm.
and um and then was it 2008 for Josiah?
2009.
9. So in 2008, we started to discover that there was something going on with my hips. Both of
Okay.
my hips were like I would do a workout, whether, with um martial arts or with the different volunteering I was doing. If I walked too much, all this stuff, it's like my hips were really sore. And it was weird and they would burn and all this stuff. And so we found out that I had arthritis in my hips. And this is 2008, so I would have been 33 at the time. So there isn't a whole lot that any doctor wants to do with a 33-year-old who has hip arthritis, at least not back then. There wasn't a lot of options,
No,
and it's like we're just gonna have you stick it out for another 20 years until we're gonna feel comfortable replacing your hips. And so I was like,
like take a bunch of ibuprofen then?
oh,
Is it the
constant, constant. Yep.
oh, man,
Yeah, I was probably on 8 ibuprofen a day with that
just to get through it.
just to get through and just to try and sleep.
Yeah.
Um, and that's kind of when my depression started too. It was funny because I didn't even know that I was, experiencing depression until we until we were in a small group, and
Okay.
there was this lady who was in the group who talked about, "Yeah, I've been struggling with depression," and so I just asked her, just as a part of the group, I'm like, "Can you help me understand, when you say you're struggling, like, what does that mean?" And she's like, "Well, yeah, I just don't wanna do anything. I don't wanna get out of bed. I like to sleep a lot." And I'm like, "I
I'm
think I'm
depressed. Yeah. Well, dude, you're quicker than me, man. I had depression for probably a full year after I got out of the Marine Corps, and it wasn't until, like, I don't know, 15 years later when I was like,
Wait, did I?
"Oh, I was depressed. Oh, man." I never would have admitted it then.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I wouldn't have seen it,
No.
but I
Yeah.
look back and it's like, oh, I all I did is lay on the couch and watch TV. I isolated,
Yep.
and I'd go out to the bars and drink just to
Mhm.
get that energy to socialize, and I'd just repeat. But yeah, really
Yeah.
low point in my life. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get that, but holy cow. Yeah. Okay. That on top of, like, you're a young man with old man hips.
Right. Yeah, and that was kind of the joke, like, leading up because of the different medical issues I'd had, that I'm a 60-year-old man in a 30-year-old body, and then doctor says, "You have arthritis in your hips," and I'm like, "Well, that doesn't help that joke at all."
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
so it's like, okay, just tried, physical therapy, all these different things to try and get through it, and it's like, it is what it is, ended up, um, you know, getting worse, but to the point where, you know, most nights I was sleeping maybe 2 to 3 hours a
Oh,
night
man.
because, like, there just was not a position, standing, sitting, laying down, that the pain was gone, like, that it was even
It's
tolerable.
brutal.
It
And
is.
I'm sitting here, man, and I'm thinking, "Man, this is another maybe God saw this coming too, and this is another reason he had what happened to Patty happen." Because it's
I
like,
know.
Right.
imagine how awful that would have been if all like, he's getting more ailments and stuff, and you were still being, like, unmerciful towards him. That would have been
Right.
brutal. That I mean, that would have been hard for both of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I am. So I am thankful for that because it's like I'm so thankful that I got to experience that so that I could be in a position to, yeah, care for him.
Yeah. And it was huge, like, it was literally once we found all of this out, she was my champ, like, she was my cheerleader, she was my, like, whatever I needed, like, it was a complete turn,
Yeah.
like, total 180. And this was also around the same time that our son, Josiah, was, experiencing issues, with his guts, and, like, he would be in massive, like, you could set your watch, like, he would eat dinner and you could set your watch that in an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, he's buckled over in pain.
Mhm.
Oh, man.
And it
And
was
he's
just
what? At this point, he's what, 10?
He's
Yep.
5th grade, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so 10,
Oh,
11
that's so
years
hard.
old. Yep.
Oh,
And it was like, and so what we've learned is that he was like, "All right, let's go to the bathroom, see what happens." He'd go to the bathroom, and then all of a sudden he was better. And we're like, "Okay, this is really weird," went to the doctor, no big deal, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. So, but then over the course of many months of his 5th grade year, apparently was getting worse and worse. And, there was, he wasn't sharing a whole lot with us. We weren't asking a lot of questions because it was just like, oh, he's going to be in pain. He goes to the bathroom. He's fine. Doctor says it's okay. Like, nothing to worry about. This is supposed to clear up. And it turns out that it didn't. And, there was one point, where Josiah comes out of the bathroom and goes, "Hey, is there supposed to be blood in the toilet when I get done?" And I was like, "Wait, what?" And we see that it was just diarrhea, and we're like, "How long have you been having diarrhea?" "Well, remember when I started the stomach pain? Yeah, ever since then." "Wait, 6 months?" Like, holy cow.
whoa.
And people who weren't living with Josiah, like, we would have friends and, like, they hadn't seen him for 6 months, and they're like, "Wow, is Josiah okay? He looks like not good." And it's like when
Oh,
we
was he, like, losing weight and stuff?
Yeah.
massively malnourished, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Would he start, like, eating less? I mean, I wonder if it's
he
just,
was
like, a natural response, like, I'm so afraid of how bad this is gonna hurt.
Right.
right. Yep.
Right. And it's just this slow kinda change that when you're living, we weren't
Oh,
seeing.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Right, and the thing is, what we found out, because he's got Crohn's disease, and what we found out is he could eat whatever he wanted, but the ulcers that were occurring in his intestines kept his body from processing that food. That's why it was just constantly diarrhea.
Mhm.
Like, it's just all this unprocessed food that just flows right through him, so it wouldn't matter. And, um, and so it was just like, so when, we had a friend of ours who was like, "What's the doctor saying?" And we're like, "He's not really saying." She goes, "I think he's got Crohn's. You need to get him tested for Crohn's." So then Patty called the doctor and was like, had to really be firm with them and go, "Please get him in." So they got him in and they're like, "Oh my goodness, yeah." Like, they couldn't do the diagnosis, but the different blood tests that they found, he was anemic, he was malnourished, he had his white blood cell count was through the roof, all this stuff, and it's like, okay, we got to get him in, and and then and we found out that he had Crohn's disease, and it's like, holy crap! So that doesn't help the depression when it's like you look back at the pictures, going, I'm supposed to be his dad, I'm supposed to be the protector.
How did I not notice
How did
this?
I not
Yeah.
effing see this?
Yeah.
Mm,
It's like, and it was years, Joel, years where I just couldn't get over that.
mm,
Like,
Yeah.
constantly blaming myself that I didn't see it, that I didn't push harder, that I didn't ask more questions when he was in so much pain. "How many days are you in pain?" "Oh, every day, 3 times a day because I eat 3 meals." It's like, never ask that question.
Mm.
Just like, oh, just constantly, you talk about condemnation, it was like, that was easy.
Yeah.
I got
mm,
real good at self-condemnation after that.
Oh, man. Brutal.
So it's like, so yeah, so dealing with this, that, and while also dealing with the hip pain, but, and so in 2009, it was like the hip pain had gotten so bad, it's like, and because with Josiah's illness and stuff, like, our deductible was satisfied, so I could go into the doctor and finally figure out what's going on, get a little bit more into what's going on with my hips. And so in January of 2009 and February of 2009, I got surgery on my right hip and left hip respectively. And they were scopes. It was supposed to make things better, and I think at one point the doctor even came out after my first hip and even told Patty, I may have made this worse.
mhm.
Oh,
Like, this surgery may have made things worse.
Yeah.
And it did. And so literally for the next 2 years, I went every night, 2 to 3 hours of sleep.
It was
oh, man.
really I'm like, again, so thankful for the decisions that we made to be ready for that, but it was really
It's brutal.
brutal for us. It's like I didn't know how to help him, and I was just so full of fear and stress, and he was losing more and more energy with his depression, and it was really hard.
Yeah, it was, because it's like, at the point where I had it, it was 2010, it was like, something's gotta break here.
Mhm,
I'm 35, I went to 4 different, orthopedic surgeons to go, and every one of the for all 3 of the first 3 went, "You're 35.
mhm,
You're walking. We're not doing anything." Literally, the 3rd doctor goes, I go, "How do," I just told, I'm like, I was at my wit's end. I go, "How do I get you to do something? Like, clearly I need my hips replaced. I can't, I'm not lying to you."
Right.
And he goes, "Eric, you're walking. You are gonna have a hard time finding any doctor." I said, "So all I gotta do is come in. So if I came into you in a wheelchair, you'll replace my hip? Because where do I buy a wheelchair?"
mhm. Yeah.
You're just irate, huh?
Yeah,
Oh,
You're
man.
like,
yeah.
"I've been in pain for 5 years," like, or longer, right?
Yeah,
And
Mhm.
just
yeah,
excruciating for a couple years now.
yeah,
Oh,
Yeah,
man, I can't imagine.
yeah. And it was like, and because of that depression and everything, it was like, it was really a struggle for us. I'm calling her saying, "Can you please come home? I can't go to work today." It's like, this pain where it's, I know a way to end the pain.
yeah.
And it's like, so I need to talk, or,
Something worse
suicidal
is gonna
thoughts
happen,
started
yeah.
to happen where I was like,
Mhm.
okay, I know a way to finish. I know a way to end this pain.
Oh, man.
And especially as I'm still dealing with, how can I call myself a dad or a father when I couldn't see when my son was sick? It's just like, it was just terrible. It was brutal. And yeah, and to the point where it culminated where in 2010, um, we there was a bunch of things that happened in our family. Josiah was in a really bad flare up of his disease. Actually, it was a secondary infection that was being misdiagnosed, we found out. And also my brother decided to divorce his wife at the time. And the unfortunate part of that was because of the doctrine and what I would call bad doctrine of divorce and marriage at the time. I feel like I handled it very poorly. I handled it by the way that I was taught, and totally wrong, but it was so devastating to us that this was happening. And then I also then no one asked, but I took on like I go, "Okay, then I gotta take care of his kids now."
Mm.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
so he has 2 sons and a daughter. I've got 2 nephews and a niece, and both of the nephews, my nephews were calling me, when they were, those first few months, it was really rough on them, and it was rough on all of us, to the point where it's just like I didn't know what to do. I'm in a
Yeah.
massive amount of pain. Josiah's in this flare now. We know he's got this disease, but apparently there's complications that we weren't ready for. And, my brother makes this decision, which we now know is like fine, but it was like at the time it was like this huge devastating thing. And and it was like I didn't know what to do. I felt so inadequate, so useless as a person
Mhm.
that it was just like I was losing myself, to the point where there was one day I'm going to our bedroom. I can't remember what I was doing, and Patty was just like I was gone, like I was missing. I was there physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, it was just like
Oh,
I'm.
just like no light in the eyes.
Yep,
Wow.
yep. And so Patty goes, I can't remember the question she asked, but it was the perfectly right question. And I just broke. I just started weeping. I'm like, Patty, I don't know what to do. I feel like our whole lives are falling apart right now. There's so many people relying on us and on me, and I don't know how to deal with any of this.
Mhm.
And it was just this massive, like, breaking.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
So,
right. That's where we're gonna end.
okay.
I know you're both exhorters, and it's like, oh, I know there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
But won't it be great for the audience to come back and hear, where were we at last time?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Eric finally has his
Yeah.
breaking point,
Yeah.
similar to, it sounds like Patty did, what, probably a few years earlier at this point
Yeah.
with your
Yeah.
ACL,
That's
MCL.
true.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So
Wow.
honestly, what I'm seeing is there's been a lot of tragic things happen in this arc of your story.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to see, and partly because I also know you guys and I know some of how this turned out, is a lot of the God definitely made a lot of good out of these tragedies as
Yeah.
well.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
So Patty, before we go, Patty, I just want to give you one shot quick to say something. Like, I guess right now, I mean, you're in the mental health field, so and a lot of this episode had to do with thought process, and thank you,
Mhm.
Eric, for being honest about your depression. Is there anything you would want to say to anybody who's dealing with some mental health or thought process issues before we go tonight?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we both experienced at a certain point was just this hopelessness and just not being able to imagine a way out or a way through. And I don't say this lightly to say that there is hope. And I want you to know that it's not just this blind hope that, yeah, things will just get better. There is a way and there is hope, and we couldn't have done it alone.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We all need help.
Well, thank you guys so much. I can't wait to hear more of the story. I will be getting a hold of you to schedule another one of these as
Right.
soon as we can.
All
Thank you
right.
guys for opening up your life to me and the audience, yeah, I hope you're okay with me calling an audible again.
Yeah. Thank you.
All
We
right.
trust you, Dr. Joel.
Yeah. Oh, I love you guys so much, and yeah, we'll see you soon.
All
All right.
right. Love
Love you
you.
Okay,
too.
bye-bye. All right, I told you that was interesting. Quite the cliffhanger, I suppose. So yeah, I'm looking forward to having them on the show again, and I think we're gonna enjoy the next little arc of their story. Arc or arch? Oh, I keep getting that wrong. So, anyways, let's go back to part of their story and really what we're starting to see in the conflicts of their marriage early on were expectations and feeling owed. And that's really something I don't want to touch on too much as far as what the answer is to those things. But I can say, really, the first sign of the beginning of the end of a marriage is when one or both of the people in that relationship feel owed, which really comes through having expectations on the other person. So I guess at this point, my encouragement would just be to, try to find the things in your partner that you appreciate about them. Try not to take for granted. Try to look at the things that you once appreciated and don't anymore and see what you can do about having a different mindset and try to discover why it is all of a sudden those things you once appreciated have become things you feel entitled to. So yeah, moving on. One of the big themes of this episode was what I would say is interdependence would be the ultimate here. So one of the things that John and I cover in Modeling God's Wills is the difference between dependence, independence, and interdependence. So humans are born dependent. We're helpless, right? A baby cannot survive without the care of his or her parents. Now, as it relates to God, when a person admits their spiritual dependence on God, this is actually representative of salvation. Now, although that sounds all well and good, John and I like to say too, salvation for a believer, once they jump over that hurdle, should be in the rearview mirror. Just like as a human, we shouldn't just maintain or live our lives in a dependent state. We shouldn't just operate as helpless babies forever. At some point, we do become anxious to demonstrate that we're no longer a child. This is independence. Now, teenagers get to this point where they're so anxious to prove that they're their own person that they tend not to take advice from other people. No, I got this mentality. Now, when we become spiritually restored and are able to bear our own burdens, we can begin to grow in our uniqueness and we can begin to grow in the holiness of God. This is sanctification, but this is still not the end of the road. Being independent, having control over my life is a step along the path that God has in front of me. It's a good step, but again, it's not the end of everything. There is something else we have to do once we gain control of our lives. And what that is hopefully this teenager will realize that maturity is not independence because no one can make it through life on their own. Adulthood is when we realize independence is not generative. It's not life-giving. And the only way to achieve generativity is through interdependence, which is only relying on people who also rely on you. Now, this is like a council meeting, like we talked about in the Dempsey's episode, part 1. Getting counsel from other people is an example of interdependence. And I'll tell you this now, God's will is interdependent. God doesn't need us in order for him to live, for him to exist. He is perfectly sufficient on his own, but he does need us in order for his will to happen, in order for him to experience this plan, this eternal plan he has for us. And likewise, we can't live eternally and in our uniqueness without others and ultimately without God either. So we're all interdependent, ultimately interdependent beings. Another thing to finish off what I really wanted to talk about to end this is the difference between humility and pride. Patty mentioned a few times this idea of believing she was in need of nothing. And it did come from this, I guess, extreme version of independence, right? Is I don't need anything from anybody. And I'm going to measure my maturity based on not needing help. That's pride. The definition of pride could be stated as in need of nothing, while humility is the ability to consider you could be wrong. So it's the ability to see another perspective, including I need help from other people. So really we can see a big contrast between this moment where Patty blows out her knee is a moment she said she was humbled. And what that did is it broke this part of her that believed she was in need of nothing. So how are you at seeing another perspective? And how do you handle when you need help? That's all for today on Unlocked. I'm Dr. Joel Swakowski. You can find Patty and Erik on social media. You can also find help from them and their community, from the Music of Life Church community at musicoflifechurch.com. You can even find the restoration process there, which does a big thing for helping people with their mental health as well. So go check out those resources. Continue to stay tuned to listen to more of Patty and Erik's story as they will be on this show again. Thanks for listening. Keep seeking truth and keep living it out. We'll see you next time.